Welcome to This Commerce Life. We are an unscripted podcast dedicated to small businesses and entrepreneurs in the retail and consumer packaged goods space in Canada and the United States.
I am Phil Chang, co-host and co-founder.
And I'm Kenny Vanucci, co-host and co-founder of This Commerce Life.
Our love is the journey to retail, and our passion is sharing that with you every week.
Why my Google Hangouts video will not work.
Okay.
For some reason. So I don't know if you guys have Zoom or something, or if you need video or...
We don't have to have video. So I've been throwing them up on YouTube, but it doesn't really matter. So the audio is really the most important thing for us. I don't have Zoom anymore. We used to have a Zoom, but we don't have Zoom anymore. You know what? Let's just do this. It's totally okay. Because the audio is really like 99%, 99.9999.
The only reason I like video, I like to see you.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah.
I wish I could fix it, but I'm not sure what's happening.
Well, it's okay. Well, he might be able to help you. I sure the hell can't. I can't help you, so
I don't. Well,
you're definitely on your own on this.
So the only other thing, like up at the top there, is the little where you see the URL.
Yeah.
To the right there. Sometimes Google will ask you for permission, so you might see a little camera up in the URL bar in the top right near where your favorites might be, like the little star for your favorites. So you might just need to right click.
Oh, I got a camera there.
I have a microphone, but I have a little exclamation mark that's orange on my video, and it says no camera detected. So I'm not sure.
Oh,
I think there's something wrong. I don't know what.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Okay, well, we'll settle for you and your voice. I mean,
okay,
it'd be nice to see.
No, we'll take that and run.
But we'll take and run. Like we're actually, we've been looking forward to this, and we were pretty excited to have you on. So
yeah. I'm excited too.
Yeah,
I was super excited. I was glad you said yes, because you've become this rock star all over LinkedIn.
Oh, thank you.
Like I do, because I do follow you. I follow your posts, and I think, wow, like she's really crushing it.
Is that like did you set out to be a LinkedIn rock star?
No, honestly, never been the plan. Never been a part of the plan. We got here.
It's what we talk to kids about in high school, right? Is that you should be a LinkedIn rock star.
Yeah, a LinkedIn course.
Well, I mean, you do spend the time with it, so it takes effort to get to near 60,000 followers.
Yeah,
that's pretty impressive.
Yeah, it's honestly my favorite platform. It's benefited me and my company a lot, so I try to invest some time into it for sure.
No, that's good. That's really good, actually. I like it, and that's how we found you.
Yeah.
I mean, I think of all the shows we've been to, I don't think we've ever met.
I have seen you, but I've never. I saw you at the last couple of. I think you were at CHFA West, right, on the last day. I think because I think I saw you because you were wearing your kind of trademark white bucket hat.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I saw you, but I think we were recording stuff. So by the time I turned, you were gone.
Oh.
And the kind of characteristic mob that follows you around. So I think those two things kind of tipped me off that you were there, but I couldn't kind of get to you in time. And I also thought it'd be really weird if some weird Asian dude came charging down an aisle and went, I see you, and you'd be like, run away.
Yeah, that's great. I'm happy for you, right?
Yeah.
No, yeah. Next time, if you see me, or if you're at an event, let's bump into each other.
Yeah.
Well, we'll connect probably at CHFA in Toronto. I'm sure you're going.
Yeah, I'm trying to work through that right now, but I should be there. Yeah.
So we'll do it there. Otherwise, we just stalk you online. So there's a way. Somehow we'll find you. That's how we found you this way. So.
Yeah. Are you in Toronto?
Phil's in Mississauga. I'm in Vancouver.
Oh, okay, nice. Canadian. Very cool.
Yeah. And where are you these days? You seem to be everywhere.
Yeah, I'm in Etobicoke, Mimico area, so I'm super close. And then I spend a decent amount of time in Vancouver because my best friend lives there, and I'm going to visit him on Saturday, so I'm there for a week.
Oh, nice. You're picking a good week. It's hot as hell.
Hey, so you are You are really close to me, like, because I'm at 427 in Burnhamthorpe, so I'm literally up the street from you.
Oh yeah, that is
That's
super
amazing.
close. Yeah.
That's super
Yeah,
cool.
I'm here.
Yeah.
It's good. I like it. I don't like being downtown. I like being just close enough
Mhm.
where I can like
Mhm.
still drive places, you know?
Yeah, I don't need to get into the muck of it, but I can go down there if I want to.
Yeah,
Yeah,
exactly.
I hear you. That's very cool. Very
When
cool.
you guys say close to each other, is it like your Toronto bullshit close,
Oh,
that around the corner
listen,
close that takes
so
an hour?
Kenny gets all upset because he's in East Van, and so he can walk everywhere. So when I say I'm around the corner, I mean to Toronto around the corner. So it means that I can drive somewhere like fairly quickly. And so the last time I said, "Hey, let's go grab some food," and he was at my house, and we went around the corner. So literally, it was a
10
5 minute
minutes.
drive, and all he did was complain the entire
It's not
time that
around
we
the
were in the
corner.
car. Do you know, like Kenny?
Around the corner means around the corner, not like this Toronto thing where you guys are around
Whatever,
the corner is
whatever.
like a
Do
10-minute
let's
drive.
let's skip this because Erica,
Anywho,
like, do the intro. Do the intro. Stop your
so
complaining.
let's do that. And so we have Erica Rankin on today, who's the founder and CEO of Brodo, which I'm interested in hearing about. But I think the real reason I asked if she'd be interested and honor us to come on the podcast is mostly because I think for someone so young and you're very open about trials and tribulations. You're very open about the successes you've had. I really do think you're crushing it on the LinkedIn platform. Like your content is, in my opinion, phenomenal. I really enjoy following you. I like to see what you're doing. So I think there's probably a little bit or a lot of envy, because I wish when I was your age, which wasn't last week, that I had been more like you and more out there. And you seem to have, you've got guts. You're not scared to try things. Like, you're really interesting to watch, and I thoroughly enjoy it. So that's why I asked you to come on. So I'm super happy you're on. But for the next 45 minutes or an hour, whatever it is, it's really whatever you want to talk about. Typically what Phil and I do is we like to know who you are, where you came from, why you ended up where you ended up. It could be in terms of LinkedIn. It could be in terms of your Brodo, whatever you want to talk about. And the platform we usually use this for is we have a lot of entrepreneurs and CPG that listen. And I just think how you talk and how you handle yourself, I think would be super valuable to our listeners and probably to the two of us. So that's what the next 45 to 60 looks out. Erica Rankin, CEO, founder, Brodo. Baby, it's yours. Light it up.
Light it up. Wow, thank you for the kind words and the intro. Yeah, I'm excited for this conversation. But yeah, I guess where should we get started?
Wherever you want.
Wherever I want. Okay, so I launched Brodo in December 2019. It was 3 months before the world flipped upside down. Little did we know what would happen. And I started the business in Ottawa. So I grew up in like Niagara region and decided, okay, I want to, have a change of environment, meet new people, move somewhere that I've never lived before. So I went on Kijiji, which I'm sure you guys know what Kijiji is, found a roommate, packed all my stuff in my Jeep and drove 6 hours to Ottawa and moved in with a stranger that I'd never met before. And
Wow.
touch wood, like everything went really well. We got along. And I basically started building this business out of my Jeep and out of our apartment. And I found a commercial kitchen that I started making cookie dough at. And I would go in the evenings when they had discount rates. So it was like 30% cheaper if you went like from 11 p.m. to like 5 a.m. or whatever it was. So go in, make dough all night, put it in my car. And I stored it in my car for the first 3 months and drove around with my heat off because it was winter and it was cold. And that was my freezer.
Oh my God.
That's awesome.
That's hilarious.
Yeah. And then eventually I had to find cold storage. So I got a freezer, and then I moved out, got my own apartment and put that in my living room. And then I started, doing operations out of my condo living room. And then in 2020, I started posting on social media pretty consistently. I started with TikTok and then LinkedIn was another platform that I turned to basically just because I didn't have any mentors and have anyone to help me grow my business. Like, God bless my friends at the time. They were super supportive, but they all worked for the government and they could not help me with anything. You know, I would turn to them and they'd say, Erica, you'll figure it out. You're fine. Like you'll figure it out. You always do. So I went to LinkedIn just to like, you know, find some inspiration, get some support, meet other founders. And I went through like my pantry and all the products that I consume on a regular basis. I went and I found the founders and the CEOs and connected with them. And some of them to this day are still mentors of mine. And they got on the phone with me when I messaged them, like Susie York, for example. She's the founder of Love Good Fats, and she just launched, Forex Better Chocolate. I remember messaging her and I was terrified, right? And she replied to me and she's like, oh, shoot me a message and or shoot me a text, she says. So I text her and I'm like, wow, she gave me her phone number. Like, this is crazy.
Right off the get-go, right? Cool. Yeah.
And then she got on the phone with me and she was talking to me and she was in the car on her way to another meeting and gave me 20 minutes of her time to just kind of give me some advice because I was super, super green and new to CPG and really had no idea what I was doing. I don't have any food experience or business experience, and this was a completely new world. So I just went and was trying to find people who have done it before and who have built things in this space and get advice from them. And that has helped so much. And in doing so with LinkedIn specifically, when I was scrolling on LinkedIn, I found that it was very, toxic positivity, and we raised X amount of dollars and we grew our team from 2 to 50 in 2 months, and all this, big shiny stuff was happening. And I was doing the opposite. Like, I was wearing all the hats. I was packing orders in my living room. I was waking up at 4 a.m. to pick and pack. I was storing boxes on my balcony. Like, I was doing things that felt really, quote unquote, like weird and like unconventional and almost not normal, I guess. And then I started having other conversations with, founders that are in startup scrappy days, and they all were doing the same weird things too, just in different ways for their business. And I thought, why does no one talk about this stuff? Why don't we normalize like the building process? Because people just see the end result and everyone pretends to be bigger than they are and shows themselves to be a certain way. And oftentimes it's not the truth. It's the half truth. It's only the shiny side of the coin. So that's when I decided, okay, I'm just going to post it all out there, the good, the bad, the ugly. And then if it resonates with people, cool. If it doesn't, that's cool too. And that was been like, I guess my mission since then is to just like show the whole side, like both sides of the coin, not just the shiny side. And hopefully make people feel less alone, because I felt super alone and I felt like I couldn't relate to anyone on that platform whatsoever. And now I think it's kind of evolved and it's changed a little bit, and there's more founders that are pulling the curtain back and they're showing that side of the business, which is so awesome to see.
Wow. Yeah, I mean, I think the honesty is, I think that's probably why I actually do enjoy following you and reading your stuff, because we're not going to get into age, but I know you're not an old soul, like potentially at least one of us on this podcast. The other one will admit that or claim he's not old. He's just as old almost, but you've got more wisdom than you should probably at the age you're at, right? To actually see that and understand that and want to go a path of being a lot more helpful. Like, for example, like, not to keep pumping your tires, but I think if you're a startup or young, you're better off to follow someone like you than probably most of the other ones, for that exact reason. This is not an easy game. And you're going to explain a little bit more of this, I hope, as we continue talking, but it's not easy. Like, CPG is a grind. It really is a grind.
Mm-hmm. It is a grind.
I think the other thing that I really love, Erica, is just I think there's so many things, you're right, that folks don't talk about. Everyone wants to be, kind of the 1% or the 0.5% that make it. So everyone kind of like condenses down their timelines, and they went from bootstrapping to divesting and blowing up their team of 50 to 200 or something, right? But the flip side of what you're doing, like Kenny and I, we sometimes people like it and a lot of people hate it, right? Because we get brands that show up at our doorstep, and when we talk to them about how their funding is broken or how their pricing models are broken, like it's the thing that nobody ever wants to talk about. And I love that about you, is because you don't really, on LinkedIn, you kind of put it out there, and then it's not really whether you want to talk about it or not. This is just the way it is. And I really love that, right? Because we do get that. We identify, when you were talking about that, I identify with that part where,
Totally.
there are moments where we say to someone, you don't make enough money. Like you can't get to a retailer based on what you're doing right now. And it's not really, it's the answer, but it's not really okay, right? Because you do get founders who go, well, no, like I have to make it. There's not enough money. You're gonna run out of money. Like you've run out of room. We can do the math for you and show you. Um, like, so I really love, I love that about the stories that you're telling and kind of the narrative you have, because it does keep everything like
Real.
gritty and real, right? It's kind of fantastic to watch.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate that. And like, yeah, like you said, it's an expensive, long play, and you have to be really strategic. And the bigger you get and the bigger your moves are, the more expensive it becomes and the more expensive your mistakes are. And if you're not backed and you don't have a lot of capital or resources to support those mistakes and fix those mistakes, you're effed, right? Like you're not
Literally.
gonna
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
And I think, like I hear from a lot of founders too. And me, even myself, I did complain a lot because I was bootstrapping. I started, with $10,000. I got my logo made on Fiverr for $50. I made my website. Like,
Yep.
I did things very, very scrappy. And I was a one-woman show for a really long time. And I think there's a blessing almost in that part of the business, because you learn so much about yourself. You learn so much about what you're good at, what you're not good at, where you need support, where you really excel and where you should be spending the most time in the business. And for me, that's marketing. I'm really good at marketing. I'm really good at building community. Operations, yeah, I made it work for the first few years, but I definitely needed support in that area. And so now I have like an operations advisor who's come in and he's helping me and supporting me in that area. And now I'm delegating. I have 2 full-time employees. So it's like, okay, I know exactly how long things take. I know, what I need them to do. I understand these parts of my business, so it's a lot easier to hand off those parts of your business versus if you just start, with a bunch of cash from the get-go. And it happens a lot. Like you see these VC-backed startups and they burn through all this cash and they get all this stuff that they don't need, and they hire all these employees that they don't need either. I think, people, again, they wanna look bigger than they are. And a great example of this is going to Expo West, like out in Anaheim.
Yeah.
You see all the booths, and I go in there with my backpack and like a little couple shell sheets and stuff. And I'm just looking around like a kid in a candy shop. And I'm like, I wonder how much that booth costs. Oh, they're pre-launch and they're here. And like, it's just like, and it's pretty crazy. How much money goes into CPG and how much money you need to grow. And your cash flow is everything. And yeah, like you could have a lot of money from the beginning, but you're playing the long run, right? You got to make sure that you're going to last. You're not going to crash and burn.
Oh my gosh, it costs so much money and it goes so fast.
But to even speak that way,
yeah.
to speak that way when you're still relatively new is still pretty impressive. I mean, we've been in this industry a long, long time, right? I mean, I was going to Expo in 2000 when it was upstairs only in the main pavilion and only 3/4 of it. There was no basement. There was no other buildings. That's it.
Wow.
And it was a 25,000 person show, which was massive. Like,
Wow.
that's it. Do you know what I mean? And to see, and I think sometimes what probably is, I think what's the unfortunate part, and this is right, again, I think I'm more impressed with you as an individual, is the part, the allure of being the next, we always use the same guys like Mike Fata or for Chang or Tara. Those are 1 in 10,000, 1 in 100,000. Most don't make it. And the reason they don't is sort of what you've been alluding to, is that you got to get the basics down. Like, the fact that you didn't go out and hire, you didn't know operations, let's say, but you found someone who could help you and you do it yourself. And then when you get to a size and you have a little bit of money, you can get somebody maybe to do it for you or with you. but you don't typically start with a full-time crew and full staff and, here we go, baby. And, I don't, and to your point, unless you got VC or you got cash, but not everybody has access to that. Not everybody knows how to get that. And that does not going to necessarily make your business do anything. Like, you still need fundamentals. Like, I think you have to grind through stuff.
Mm-hmm. I totally agree.
Could we switch gears? Because I think this is, I love this part of every podcast, but do you mind kind of talking about Brodo a little, like, so where the idea comes from? And
Yeah, why do this? Like, what started it?
I think your story gets even more remarkable when you share these parts. I don't know the story, but I'm already looking at your stuff going, oh my gosh, like, anyway. Yeah.
Totally. So honestly, I think it all started with the breakup in I don't even know what year it was. I was probably like 19 or 20. I went through a bad breakup in university, and then I fell in love with fitness. That was like my means of coping. It was unhealthy at first. I would just remember going to the gym and running on the treadmill and crying, and that's how I dealt with that. But then I ended up falling in love with fitness, and I got into bodybuilding in, like, gosh, I don't even know. I think so. I competed in 2018. So I got into lifting, started spending a lot of time in the gym, getting really immersed in like the fitness community, and decided, okay, I want to start prepping for a show. And, I'm a very extreme person. So if I do something, I'm going to do it, as best as I can and take it to the extremes, which can be good and bad for sure. But in this case, I was like, okay, I want to try something new. I want to push myself. I want to have a goal that I can work towards. And I decided to prep for a show, and I was prepping, like dieting and working out excessively for about 1.5 years. And I had to eliminate a lot of things from my diet. I could no longer eat sweets. I could no longer, have a lot of the things that I used to eat prior. And I got really creative in the kitchen, and I found this love for baking and making healthier versions of my favorite treats. So I was making like protein donuts, I was making chocolate pudding out of avocado, I was making black bean brownies, and these all taste a lot better than they sound, I promise.
Yeah, the avocado one I wasn't buying, but that's okay.
My mom hates avocados, but I made her try it and she liked it. And then I told her it was avocado, and she was like, "Oh, why would you give me that?" I'm like, "Well, you liked it,
Yeah.
We'll have to share that recipe, because I'm with your mom. I'm not seeing this one.
Yeah, it was.
No, she's not sharing a recipe with you. You go buy the go buy the product, man. That's what you got to do.
Wow.
I can give you an avocado pudding recipe. You can try that one on your own.
Thank you, Erica. Thank you.
So and I had an Instagram account, and I was posting all my recipes and like the things that I was making, and my Instagram page was called Erica Foodie Fitness, and I just started sharing like my journey as I was prepping for my shows and all the meals that I was eating. And I always got a lot of attention for this cookie dough that I would make and these cookie dough bites, and people would ask me if I would ever sell them. And I never thought anything of it, honestly. I said, no, that's not something I'm interested in. This is just something I do for fun. And I guess fast forward to me working 3 jobs. I was working at McMaster University and doing research. I was working at a grocery store. I was working as a personal trainer. I did my shows, I competed, and then I had no purpose. I had nothing that I was working towards. I was living Groundhog Day every day. It was just the same shit, different day.
Right. And
I quit my 3 jobs, and I went backpacking through Southeast Asia for 3 months. Because again, I grew up in a small town, I'm very privileged. I have a lot, and I was very, I think, ungrateful and needed to just, go somewhere that could really bring me some new perspective and bring that gratitude back. So I thought, okay, let's go to Thailand, let's go to Malaysia, let's go to Singapore and Indonesia and meet people. And on that trip is when I met entrepreneurs, and a lot of them, had no business background, or they were doing something completely different and were deeply unfulfilled and decided to jump into something completely new. And I loved having conversations with them because they were so excited to talk about what they did for a living. And that was something that was really cool to me, because typically when you ask someone what they do, oh, I work here, or I do this, and they live for the weekends and they get the Sunday scaries, and I didn't want that life. I'm like, how can I make every day feel like a Friday, or a Saturday? I want that. Like, give me that, right? So this just brought me some new perspective, and I realized that, okay, this is like a viable path that I can take. And I got home and I Googled business workshop near me. I drove out to the closest business resource center and I learned how to write a business plan. And then I thought, okay, what am I passionate about? What do people like? And what does the market need here in Canada? And I was, I thought back to when I had that Instagram page and these cookie dough bites, these, the cookie dough I used to make. And then I decided, okay, let's package it and brand it and let's figure out what to call it. And I was going to call it Pro Dough, like protein cookie dough. But then there's this thing called trademarks and that was already taken. So I couldn't do that. So then I decided, you know what? Well, how about bro dough? Like, I'm a bro, like I'm very much into like bodybuilding. Like, do you even lift bro? Like, bro culture. It has protein in it. It's cookie dough. It's bro dough. Like, it's very memorable. It's fun. It's playful. Let's do it. So then I branded it as that. And then now we're here. So that's the story in a nutshell, I guess.
Wow. Oh my.
That's amazing. That is amazing. Okay, so you start. Wow. It's cool because you like, I listen to that story and I love you kind of just tracking that down and start thinking about like all the different like being able to blow up, being able to build recipes and different flavors and things like that. And then do you have food or grocery or anything in your background? Hey, Kenny.
Good morning, Phil.
How are you?
Half asleep, but that's okay.
Excellent. You know what you can't be asleep on?
Tell me.
Is we all know it's August, but CHFA East is coming.
CHFA is coming, Phil.
It is.
That's right.
It is not the time to be asleep on this, particularly if you're a retailer. The retailers, CHFA has a retailer VIP program that you need to sign up for, and really don't be asleep because you have to sign up.
Well, you got to register by the 18th, Phil.
Yeah, you got to register by August 18th, right? So that's this month. So you got to get your stuff together. Retailers, pay attention. Now is the time. The retailer VIP program has a bunch of benefits.
I'm taking a look now.
Yeah. What's there, Kenny?
Well, this is pretty cool. Well, I mean, I don't know. For me, I like first one. I like saving time. So I love the fact that they can mail me my badge, so I don't have to stand in line because that's usually me. I typically forget things last minute, Charlie. So I'm down there late. So that's awesome. So they'll send you the badge by mail.
Right.
They feed you. You get exclusive breakfast.
Yeah.
So on Saturday's breakfast, first 100 people to breakfast get a goodie bag.
Ooh, that's cool.
That's pretty cool. And I bet you it's loaded with all the new and cool stuff.
Cool.
That's pretty cool.
You get lunch all weekend from the food truck station, right? So on the food thing, right? You get
all weekend, Phil. All weekend. Food trucks. Well, this is getting better as it goes. You can save on rides, so they give you some. I guess you get ride discounts on. I'm assuming that's Uber. That's pretty.
Yeah,
that's pretty cool.
Uber discount codes, right? So if you're coming to and from the venue, because the venue is a good one, but it's not exactly easy to get to if you're coming from hotels and things like that. So if you got to come from a little bit of ways, the Uber discount codes will help.
That's kind of nice. Take you right down there, right?
Nice. Yeah.
Well, they're doing something very nice overall. We're getting
there's some green stuff, right? There's one tree planted in Ontario and one kelp planted for every retailer in attendance.
And it's Veritree, so like it's actually happening, well, big win big, baby. Win big. Every retailer who gets them by August 18th gets a chance at $500 Visa MasterCard gift card.
I like it.
I like that one, man. That's huge.
The other thing that's kind of interesting is you not kind of interesting, but you do get access to Incubator Alley and then the Alley pitch session on Sunday.
The pitch session would be pretty cool because instead of standing in the aisles and then, you know what I mean, we get all that kerfuffle and commotion. Yeah. It'd be nice to go into a little more quiet area and actually listen to some of the pitches of the new guys.
Yeah.
Well,
I think in case you're wondering, so Incubator Alley is the place where all the new startups go. So you're talking about the hottest new brands. folks in that kind of play in our space of natural organic wellness, and then it'll get you a chance.
It's a
Kenny
busy
and I,
aisle though in the show, right? Like in the show, because I mean, it's sort of the new and cool. So this gives you a chance to, see them in the show, like the show floor, but another chance at breakfast to actually listen to some of the pitches on it, which I think is.
I think that's super cool.
Cool.
I think Kenny and I were talking about this before we started recording. And, when you go to the show as a buyer, you're thinking about, what do I need? Who do I need to talk to? How do I stay alert for new things? And then the incubator stuff is always interesting because they may or may not be ready for you, but usually when you get to new stuff, it helps you think about categories a little bit different, or what you could be doing, right? So having access to the pitch sessions allows you to kind of just stop for a second and zero out the noise of the trade show and just think about, like, what do I do with new? How do I do that different?
Plus, if you're sitting at a table, you know what? It's probably going to be table type format. You're sitting with other people. You know what I mean? The discussions happen. So, right. And this industry, it's competitive, but still they help each other. So I think it's actually a really cool idea. Right? Yeah. And you know what else you get, Phil? You get to sit down during the show because there's a new lounge, a new member lounge where you can actually have a cup of coffee and take a break. Come on, guys. You know what? For an August 18th sign up,
you just need to sit in the lounge and then face the other way so that everyone all the vendors who's got their eyes and faces pressed up against the glass, you just don't have to look, go enjoy a coffee. Yeah.
I like this. I mean, it's really for what? Signing up before the 18th of August.
Let me think. I mean, I worked at a grocery store, and this is funny too. So I grew up in a really small town, and we have this one big grocery store, and I worked there. My sister worked there. My best friend worked there. Her brother worked there, and their mom worked there. And then a lot of people I went to high school with worked there as well. And I was in the bakery department, and I would just like ice cakes and decorate cakes, but I was not very good, and I would oftentimes mess up, and then we'd have to cut up the cakes and then give them to the staff. And then that everyone liked me because I would always screw up cakes, and we'd have like
the treats.
Yeah.
That was the only food experience that I really had.
And your folks weren't in this business or doing anything like this, or
no, my parents have like not the most exciting jobs. They work for like a valve company. This is a whole nother story in itself, but my parents are divorced and they work together. So,
that's interesting.
So, yeah,
but they were also interesting.
They're in the water treatment industry.
But so you've had nothing here. So, but even this helped me out a little bit. So your education wasn't business, right? Or was it?
No, I majored in psychology. My bachelor's in psychology. Yeah.
So, but I think some of your steps I find even interesting in that. I mean, I never did it because when we were graduating high school a trillion years ago, nobody did, very few people did the backpacking thing or things like that. Most of us, what you do, you finish high school, you probably work summer jobs, you went to university if that's what you chose to do, or you worked a job, you just worked. That's it, right? You started working. You didn't do the breaks that young people do today. But I guess what I'm trying to figure out, so you do these breaks and you come back, like even that's great that you think about a business, you get the idea, but even to go to find business resources and write business plans, like, I mean, you've been around long enough to know, like, if you hear a lot of the startup stories, very few people do that, right? It's very much an idea and they just start.
Yeah. I guess I wanted to know what I was getting myself into as well, because I'm and you hear a lot of the most successful like founder stories, and it's like, yeah, I dropped out of school, or I got F's or C's. Like, no, right. I was like an A student. I was an overachiever. Like, I would stay in the library till they turned the lights off. Like, that was my life for a long time. And I'm an academic, and I always was shooting for really good grades, and I would get very frustrated if I didn't get a good grade and do whatever I could to fix that. So with the business, it was kind of the same approach that I took. I'm like, I want to know what I'm getting into. I want to plan, I want to understand things. I mean, there are some things that I definitely did not do right and I was not prepared for. but I think I was as prepared as I could have been in that moment with all of the knowledge and experiences that I had. Yeah.
Well, perfection is a fallacy anyway. There's no such thing as perfection, right? I mean, you do the best you can with the information you have, and a lot of it you play odds, right? You line up the data and you make a call. And sometimes it's a shitty call, and that's just life.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's an impulsive call because we're human. It's emotion. I mean, business is supposed to be very clean. That's bullshit. Business is very emotional, right? There's obviously clean aspects, but it's hard. It's emotions can kick in and take over, right? So to remain logical and thinking is still pretty impressive. But I mean, it is what it is.
Yeah, we all have our moments.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
No, you've got a lot of moments. Like I'm kind of smiling ear to ear because I just think, like the respect for you grows, right? Because you
I
kind of
know
look
it's just
at
because
what you're
it's such
doing.
a
But it's also like, so you look at this category, and I think I made this comment on a bunch of podcasts, right? But as you start to kind of like get in shape or try and eat better, you realize that like the snacking category is one of these categories that's just like, it is not good for you, right? Like the category the way it was before, like there is nothing you can eat in the category. Like the minute, I think I've been torturing Kenny, but like I'm 50, and so I'm having a different sort of moment. I'm having a moment where I realize I gotta really look after myself, right? If I want to be around a long time, I got to really stop doing some things. So, I'm working out, I'm playing volleyball twice a week, and you kind of look around and go, okay, so I'd like to eat a little bit better, but I hit snacks, and you go, what's better? The only thing better is not to eat any snacks, right? Because everything has salt in it, everything has like way more sugar than it's supposed to have, and then whatever salty or sweet it is has about, the rest of it is carbs, right? And you're just going,
or it's a
all of
crappy
this
protein.
sucks, right? All of this sucks,
It's
right?
all of
And
it.
so, I look at your stuff and you go, okay, so, talk about nailing a consumer, right? And understanding who your consumer is. So you didn't take marketing, but you're doing it, you're doing the marketing and you're banging it right on the head, right? And then you figured out probably some of the most complicated parts of CPG. So you didn't jump in and just make something that you could warehouse or throw into boxes. You needed refrigerated. You needed.
Yeah, you made it pretty much as complicated as you wanted to make it.
You like it's amazing. Like
you really didn't decide one. You didn't take an easy path.
No.
Right? Which is probably something you've learned too, and that's good. But you really did. Yeah.
Did you have any moments like when you started cracking open the refrigerated part? Were there moments in there where you went, no, this?
Or when did the moment hit that you realized that, wow, this is an interesting set on a good day? How's that?
I'm an idiot. Why did I?
I didn't want to say that.
No,
but
absolutely
refrigeration
not.
and frozen is a
Absolutely not.
really interesting world.
Yeah. Again, ignorance is bliss sometimes, truthfully. But honestly, like the first week I launched, I would say for sure. No, and it wasn't the first week. It was when I got my first order from a retailer. My friend, she owns like a supplement store out in Quebec, and she's like, I want to support you. I would love to carry your product. And I remember I like shipped her a bunch of product. I bubble wrapped each jar because it was in a jar at the time. And this was in 2020, early 2020. And we did a pre-sale and it like sold out. Like I sold like over 100 jars or something. It was like, it was huge for me. I was like, wow, this is pretty crazy. People are so excited for this product. And so they sold direct to consumer. So I shipped product to them and then they didn't unwrap it. They just put it in boxes and then sent it to their customers. And by the time, so it had spoiled. It spoiled, and they didn't check, and it was already spoiled when they got it because it got spoiled in transportation or something. Something happened to it, and so I got all of these emails where it was like, "You're a brand new company, and like this is what I got," and it literally looked like there was like a teddy bear in these jars, like they were furry, like the dough was furry.
I guess so. Well, you learned about cold chain the hard way.
Yeah. And
That sinking feeling in your in the
and I was
stomach.
like, wow, this is it for me. Like, I haven't even fully like really gone down to the market yet, and this is a huge L. Like, what am I gonna do? And then I remember looking at my inventory, and it had all spoiled. And I remember throwing like 100+ jars down the garbage chute in my condo, and I just hear them like go down the chute one by one. And so, and then I had to go send replacements out and make things right with the customer. So that was probably the moment where I was like, wow, I'm building out a direct-to-consumer business with a refrigerated product, and we're approaching summer.
Yeah, real
How
tough.
is this gonna work?
Yeah, real tough.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that's honestly, that was one of the reasons why we did pivot a little bit. So there was that huge D2C wave where everyone was at home, right,
Yeah.
during the pandemic. And then now, like, people, you know, they want to get out, they want to go grocery shopping in person and buy their groceries, you know, at their favorite grocery store. And I decided, okay, like, let's make the tough decision to sunset direct to consumer for now until we can find a way to make it more profitable, if it even is, and just focus on retail and get product in stores and retail. And that's what we're doing. I think we are going to be launching some innovation that's shelf stable, and that will be D2C, and that'll make things so much easier logistically, and margins will be stronger, and I won't have to worry about express shipping and dry ice or cold packs or insulated boxes. Or it's one thing to ship, you know, in Canada, like half the year is cold, so we're okay here. But then if I'm expanding into the US, you get states that are hot AF, like Texas, like forget it.
Well, you do Texas, California, and Florida, and you got half the country. Now what?
Yeah.
Like, seriously. I mean, you get shipped to Minnesota all day?
Yeah.
Every day, all the time.
But you know what I mean? But you got, you know, but you got 6 people in Minnesota, and you got 40 million in California.
Yeah, you're right.
Right? It's a whole different world when you hit the South. So let me ask you something. So why was it refrigerated from the get-go, or what? I mean, obviously you didn't understand the whole cold chain supply chain. I mean, it's a bitch, right? But if you don't know that, you don't know that. So, but why refrigerated?
And it was just the nature of the product, I guess. And I'm not a food scientist. I don't know anything about food and food chemistry and shelf life. And the shelf life testing that I did, I had a Tupperware container of cookie dough on a shelf in my closet in my apartment. And every like few days I would go in and like look at it and smell it and like taste it and, you know, right, like, you know, do like a sensory test. And that was like my shelf life testing. And that's all I could do at the time. And then I realized, okay, like after X amount of days, or see, same with the fridge too, like having it in the fridge and, you know, and then getting water activity tests done and pH level tests done and all this stuff. And I thought there was a way that I could make it shelf stable. That was something I was trying to work through, but I didn't want to add in like, you know, all these preservatives, and my product's a health food product. I want it to be clean. And there was just things that I wasn't willing to do to make that happen. And I would have had to like reduce the water activity and make it like a lot drier, and then it wouldn't really be a cookie dough. So I made the hard decision to just forget that idea and continue to have like a refrigerated product. And I think while it is very difficult from a supply chain perspective, it does really work in my favor when it comes to retail and where the product's merchandised, because there's less players in that space. So if you go, especially in Canada, in the States, like it's a freaking huge category, and there's so much competition. It's crazy. But here, you know, you have a couple players like Midday Squares and Perfect Bar, and I think there's a couple more that are emerging on that space, but that category is very green. And I think, you know, for me to get my product next to those brands, it'll be a really good play for me versus going in the, you know, ambient shelf stable bar set where it's so overwhelming and you got so many bars on the shelves.
Yeah, for sure. Well, your timing's good because I mean, I guess if you go back 4 or 5 years, I would have probably challenged you at that time, saying, "Listen, I appreciate there's nobody there, but it's white space, and there's not much harder space in retail to break than white space because there's nothing there. What are you comparing to? You know what I mean? Now you're really spending money on marketing, etc., because there's nothing to pull." It's really nice that the fact that you had a few of you guys, like Midday spent a shit ton of money on promoting and doing their things. You're super active in your world. So even though the space would have been white even a couple years ago, like there's at least a few of you pushing hard, which is good because there was no
buyers are
category
not
otherwise.
like some buyers see the future, but buyers are not.
Refrigeration is hard though, Phil, because it's so
No,
finite.
but it's not that. It's also it's vision, right? Because
Oh, for sure.
you're gold on profit per square foot. So it's hard to kind of go like traditionally this refrigerated set carries what, right? And then so for them to put something that they is a brand new category, they don't quite understand the benefits and they don't quite understand the consumers, to open up space, I think is already a challenge. But like you're coming in at a great time because you're actually going to you're going to compete with the other guys, but you're also going to make a buyer's life easier, right? Because now they actually get some efficiency out of that square footage. It's almost like when
I'd be happy
kombucha
now.
first started, right? Like when kombucha
sure.
first started, it was like everyone
Yeah.
went, a what drink? Like
And where do you put it?
and where do I put it? Like why can't I just put it on a dry? Oh, it has to be well, no, I have stuff in there that sells, and this is the sales per store per week. And then now you realize they figured it out, right? Because there's like multiple feet of, millions of kombucha flavors, right? So I feel like it's a really good time because you're redefining, kind of another refrigerated set, and then you're really giving a buyer like some extra tools in his tool belt, right, to be able to compete and get new consumers. So I think it's super cool. Like I think
your
going in at a
timing
great time.
couldn't have been
Yeah.
better. If this is 4 or 5 years earlier, I don't know how you guys all make it.
Yeah, new set,
right?
right? Like
It's a whole different world because we were both buyers. Like I bought for a million years. And if I had products like this come to me, I would have just looked at you and said, well, where do you want me to put it? In the refrigeration. And they're finite sets. I'd be looking at you. So you want me to displace milk and yogurt is what you're asking, right? You'd be looking at me thinking, yeah, I'm thinking, seriously, what drugs are you on? Like, you think I'm going to displace these categories? The floor is different. I can floor stack, I can wing stack, I can build ends, I can check out. I mean, I might have finite lineage in the aisles, but I've got lots of other space. A fridge is a fridge. I got a back wall, side walls, and a glass door. After that, man, where do you want me to go?
Yeah.
There's really not a lot of wiggle room. So your timing is really good because I think a couple of you guys banging on the door makes it a lot easier. To Phil's point, makes it a lot easier for the buyer to say.
You're also like right on it's like the intersection of new, and then I think the thing that's kind of cool is we are coming out of the pandemic. There are lots of people that overindulged during that time period. We're being more active. I think a good chunk of us spent some time reading on things we should and should not be doing, and we shouldn't be eating. So I think that's the other thing, right? Is getting onto kind of proper eating habits is a good thing too, right? So between the two, I feel like, wow, it's so cool. You're kind of right in the right place, right? So really is kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I think the thing that's funny though, I mean, so we're just launching a brand new and improved version of our product, but prior we had tubs of cookie dough, and I ran into the problem where like last year when I was launching the tubs into retail and switching from D2C to retail, I was approaching buyers and they were asking me, well, where do I put it? It's cookie dough, but it's healthy. It's a tub, but it has protein in it. Do we put it next to Pillsbury or do we put it in the natural set? But it's not clean enough to be in the natural set. Or oh, I don't think you'll get, like I had the argument where it's like, oh, you'll get more foot traffic if you're in dairy next to Pillsbury. Which that's I guess a fair argument, but also my customers aren't really going to that part.
Your customers aren't Pillsbury, right? So I understand the argument, but they're not going to sub out of Pillsbury for you. Yeah, so the problem there was, oh gosh, from a retail perspective, there were just so many problems with that product. It was not merchandised in the right part of the store, and the pricing was just astronomical compared to what was around it because, it's a premium product, it's $10, and then you have a product that's twice the size, that's like $3. Obviously, people are going to go for that product if they don't care about, or if they don't know.
Yeah, and there was too many servings in it. It wasn't like the cleanest. Some retailers said no to listing it in their stores just based off of some of the things in the deck. And then people wanted single serve. That was a huge thing. People are like, oh, I don't want to eat the whole tub. I want to have, an easier way to eat it. And one mom had messaged me and she said, my boys love your product, but whenever we buy it from the store and we're like on our way home, they want to start eating it, but we don't have a way to eat it. It's a tub and you need like a spoon and we don't have a spoon. And I don't want them to like, go and dig in with their fingers because that's messy. Yeah. So we decided to delist that product and make a bunch of improvements and launch a completely new and improved one, which is I literally just delivered it to our distributor a few weeks ago, and it's single serve, it's gluten-free, it has cleaner ingredients, and retailers know exactly where it'll be positioned on shelf. And that is next to the refrigerated bars like MDS, like Perfect Bar, like those. So it's a lot easier and more clear where the product will be. It's more affordable too. So, yeah.
So let me spin off that one too, because I think Phil and I've had numerous discussions on this as well. Is in the last, both COVID for sure, during COVID, just pre-COVID, during COVID, tons of new products came onto the market in a really funny time, because you don't think people are going to launch during an event that we have no idea how it was going to work or what happened. But we know a lot of brands that launched. People were buying anything and everything. So a lot of people got wicked growth. Price did not seem to be an issue during COVID, mostly because I guess we weren't going out and spending money on holidays and meals. So price didn't seem to be an issue. We come out of it. We're back into regular life. Inflation's going nutty. Food prices have gone up all over the place. Has that impacted you in terms of your sets? Because as discretionary income becomes maybe limited, are your price points lending to, I don't know, success, for lack of a better word? That's probably a shitty word, but you know what I mean? Like, how's that playing?
Yeah. So ingredients went up. I was again in like a really weird transitional period because we decided to officially delist and sunset our old product like last, I think November, December, I decided. So it's been like all 2023. I've just been working on this new innovation, and the freight costs like that has gone up so much, especially refrigerated, like the cost to ship a pallet from point A to point B, and from point A to point B, it might be a 30-minute drive, but they're still going to charge X amount, like their flat rate per pallet. Right. And so that definitely has impacted my pricing. And then, retailers as well, like I need to make sure that I'm making money. And like right now I'm currently getting set up with like, new retailers, new product, new sell sheets, figuring out their margins, distributor margins, making sure that I'm making money. And that's the thing, is you want to build a sustainable business, but also the SRP, like the price on shelf, it can't be astronomical because otherwise the consumer is not going to buy it. So we're trying to like balance that out right now, but it definitely, like the biggest impact that I've had was the freight and that cost going up. And even some ingredients, like I don't have it in my product now, but like I think wheat flour, the flour I had in my old product had increased like 25 or 30% or something like that.
Probably even a bit more. It's actually coming back. It's pulling back a little bit right now. It looks like we may have a glut of wheat. I don't know how that happened, but whatever.
Weird times.
I know. Well, that's the thing. It's hard to predict any moment, right? Because you really don't know.
Yeah.
Interesting though.
Wow, what a ride.
Yeah, like you've had a lot of shit go on in a short time.
Yeah.
So where does it go from here? Sorry, Phil, I interrupted you.
No. I have the same question, and then
like
I have
what's
a weird.
So you got some innovation coming. I don't know. I mean, we don't know you, but just even after 45, 50 minutes with you, it's highly unlikely this is it. I got a feeling you're going to be doing a lot of stuff over the next 30 or 40 years.
But we
like
don't want you to give away trade secrets.
No trade secrets.
So
but like, what are you thinking? You're going to expand Brodo. You're going to venture into other things. What's exciting you?
Yeah,
What's keeping
yeah,
you awake excited?
yeah. You say 30 or 40 years. I'm like, oh my God. I feel like the past 3 years has been like 100 years, you know? CPG ages you in a way
Yep.
that nothing else does. But it's a blessing. Like I've learned so much. And I have yet to learn so much more, I'm sure. But yeah, I guess I really just want to, I have a really big vision for Brodo. I guess I started off as it being like a cookie dough company. And then now I'm like, okay, I want to, build a really big nostalgic snack brand and like have a bunch of innovation. So I have, we call it a parking lot. So anytime I get an idea, I have an advisor and I go to him and I'm like, I have this idea. And he tells me, put it in the parking lot, Erica.
Yep.
Like, you can't do it right now. You can't do everything. Focus on what you're doing.
Yep.
Nail this. And then we'll visit the parking lot. It'll be there.
You
It's
don't
not.
have a yes man, you have a no man.
Yeah, I
Yeah.
need that.
You need
Sometimes
that.
I think as
You
an
need that.
entrepreneur, you need someone to bring you down to earth every now and again
Yep.
because it gets shiny object syndrome. And I'm like, yo, this would be so good. It's like, no, not right now. No.
Yeah, it would be very good. Park it.
Yeah, park it. Exactly. So just continuing to build it out. I'm taking it day by day. I want to have like a team, that's super passionate and motivated and excited to build a really epic brand that brings healthy, nostalgic snacks to the Canadian and US market. I want to expand out that way next year. So that's kind of the game plan there. I'm raising money right now. I just hired my second full-time employee
Good for you.
and I just landed my first paid speaking gig. So that's like
Oh,
something else
nice.
that's on my
Yay,
bucket list.
congratulations.
Good for
Thank
you.
you.
That's
Yeah.
exciting.
So that's new. I hate it and it
What are you
makes
speaking
me
on?
so uncomfortable. Just like the food and beverage, like CPG, just talking about my story, I think.
Mhm.
And I've been doing that like for free, like a little bit and just trying to get more comfortable with it because
Yep.
I'm someone who I grew up presenting one-on-one to the teacher. Like I hated being in front of people and I hated being the center of attention. So this is something that's very uncomfortable, but it's something I want to do. And
I think you'd be very good at it. I think
Thank you.
your story's interesting because that was going to be my sort of almost the final question is that, you've got a lot of people. You probably have way too much wisdom. Like I think I said before, for the age you're at. But if you look at, we have a lot of people listen to the podcast, obviously all CPG and retail type people. But, the main thing that you've learned that you would share with someone who's the Erica 5 years previous, like, do you know when you were first starting out, like now that you've gone 5 years past that, what do you tell somebody who just walks in as the first sort of, not pitfall, but like, what did you learn that had the most impact on you getting to where you are?
oh my gosh. Okay.
I know it's a tough one. I'm just curious.
Yeah.
Don't make it overly complicated.
The first thing is like, it's going to be really hard. Like it's
Yeah,
going to be
people need to
really
hear
hard.
that.
And I think I walked into it kind of underestimating how hard it would be.
Right.
And I think when you tell yourself, like, I don't know, I was always upset because I'm like, wow, this is actually so much harder. I didn't accept that it was going to be hard and it made it even more hard for me. So I think just understanding it's hard and knowing it's going to be hard. And then the other thing too is like staying true to your vision and not letting people jerk you around and make you doubt yourself. Cause there were times where, I had potential investors come in and say that I should change my business name or, they don't understand what I'm building or they want me to do X, Y, Z. And then they would come in and, or people, who have opinions and want you to change, your ingredients or whatever.
Change your brand, change your package, change the way it looks, blah, 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 blah.
Everyone
Yeah.
has an opinion. And I think
Yeah.
you just have to like really dial in and block out all the noise and focus on what you're doing and see it all the way through because you can't please everyone, right? Know who your core customers are and serve them as best as you can. You're not going to make everyone happy. And the other thing is to like go slow. Like there's so much noise online and in the world and you see everyone doing big things and again, they only show one side of what's actually happening and you compare yourself a lot. And there were times where I compared myself to so many companies that were so much further along than me, or maybe started at the same time that I did and grew exponentially faster. But I think just remembering that it's like your own path. You're doing it for you. It's not a race. And when you get so caught up and fixated on other people, you don't enjoy the journey as much. And
Right.
that's a thing that I wish I did more of. Like I wish I really appreciated those long nights in the kitchen and like, had more gratitude for that time in my life. Cause I look back and I'm like, you know what? That was pretty cool. I went into this kitchen by myself, for like 5 or 6 hours, listened to Taylor Swift or a podcast, made cookie dough, and then I got to like ship it out of my apartment and I made friends with the FedEx guys. And, it was just like a really interesting time in my life. And I think I didn't have enough appreciation for it. So now I'm trying to like make an effort to do that because I'm still nowhere near where I want to be. But I think you can be very forward focused, but still also appreciate where you're at, right?
I think you driving around
Hmm.
Ottawa with no heat on, and cookie dough in your car to me is maybe my most favorite
I love that.
mental image I
Yeah.
have of you. Like, because I think that, like, and I have definitely been places where now you kind of look back and go, that was ridiculous and hilarious and amazing all at the same time. And I just, that might be my favorite kind of
Yeah.
moment that you've told. I have a question and a comment. One is, are you still friends with the roommate that you moved into Ottawa with?
I think I have her on Facebook. I don't
Okay.
think we talk really. I just
Okay.
remember. So I think she was from the Netherlands and she was a pilot. And
Oh wow.
I would get pallets delivered to like the
Right.
lobby of our
Back.
apartment building, and I would have to disassemble them and bring boxes up to our living room.
God.
And she would come home and take one look at the living room and be like, "Oh, how long are these going to be here?" And I knew from that moment on I needed to move out and get
Yeah,
my
this
own
is
place.
Oh no, I love that.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
Yeah.
That's awesome. And then I think the last thing for me is when before you go to your speaking gig, ping us back and we'll do a fast thought on what you're going to talk about, so we can
Oh yeah,
we just
maybe for a little bit of a push.
because we find that amplifying speakers before they go to things, it just helps people, because you go to conferences and you're kind of printed on all sorts of things, but nobody ever reads the agenda until they get there. So we find doing a fast thought, like a little 10-minute thing on YouTube usually helps with amplifying, or
We do that.
do
We've
it on
done that
your
for
own because you have
CHFA
enough
and for
voice. Yeah,
food
you
and
have enough
beverage
voice for
and
it, but
people.
do a little bit of something that says you're
Yeah.
going, and then that'll help kind of with the number of eyeballs you get in the audience.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's a great idea.
Yeah.
Very cool.
Thank you for doing this.
Thanks for coming on. Seriously.
We
Thanks
love
for
your
answering.
story, and we love watching you on LinkedIn. So we're super appreciative that you came on the show.
Yeah, this was so fun. Thank you for having me.
No, I'm glad you did it. I mean, maybe we'll bug you again, or I'll bug you again on LinkedIn in like a year, see where you're at, see what's going
Yeah.
on.
Or
If you
you're
ever want to
launching
share
new
anything, or
stuff,
if you want to
yeah.
talk about it, if there's something you want to share, again, I mean, most of what we do is because we've been doing this. I've been in retail since 14th. I've been
Oh my
done
God, we
43
love
years of this,
CPG.
right?
Yeah.
I've done that. My whole life's been CPG.
Yeah.
Right. So we like the give back more than anything now. So I think what I love about your story and how you're handling it, and many others we've had on the show, is that I just think it helps a lot of the people behind you now, or the newcomers, to say, okay, I know what I know what I think I know, but I really don't know what I don't know. So your sharing is really important, I think, to making sure this country has a whole slack of really cool entrepreneurs follow you.
Yeah.
And I think you're a great lead.
Thank you. I think it's great that you have a platform where you allow people like me to share it too, because this is what got me through my hard days when I was picking and packing boxes and crying, printing out shipping labels. I was listening to, podcasts like Taste Radio was a huge one. And I was just listening to founders share their stories, and it made me feel so less alone and, made me not make some mistakes. So
you make a few anyway, but maybe make a few less, right?
Make less. Yeah.
That's whatever.
Yeah.
I think to us too, like I'm awfully proud of like Kenny and I started this, we didn't do this for ultra. We did it because we like talking to each other. But I think what this has evolved into is I love, like, we have neighbors to the south that are just, They're really good
Interesting.
at telling stories, and they tell interesting stories, and Canadians listen to interesting American stories. And I think the podcast has turned into interesting Canadian stories because we have fucking talented people in this country, you know. And
We
so
really do.
I think, getting you on this podcast, getting the people that we have, it's a nice way to be able to give back as well, right? Because like Canadian retail, like we have amazing people in it, and we should be telling these stories, right? So
Yep.
yeah,
Yeah.
love it,
Amen.
love it. Yeah. When Kenny comes to town for CHFA, we haven't actually told Dave at Two Bears yet, but
Oh my gosh,
we're-
I love David.
so we haven't told him
We all know
anything
the
yet,
same people.
but we're
Yeah.
planning on doing some breakfasts at Dave's. So I'll ping you back because you literally, I think you could walk there from
Oh,
where
no
you
way.
are, or almost walk there. For you
We're
and
thinking
I,
to do
that would
some
be
live
a couple of
recordings,
blocks
some
away. For
recordings
Kenny, he
there.
would complain all the way there.
Yeah,
But
it's
we're
too
thinking
far.
about just grabbing some folks and having morning coffee there. So
That would be great.
Yeah.
so we'll shoot you back a note when that happens.
Amazing. What a
Yeah.
small world. Yeah, they're great. So the Vineet, so he helps them with their operations. He helps
Yeah.
me out with my operations.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Super small world.
Yeah, love Dave. Love his coffee bar. Love his oat milk. Love. Anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Cool.
Awesome.
So before you go, young lady,
Yeah.
if people want to find you or want to get a hold of you or your product, best ways.
So our website is eatbrodo.com. Our social handles is eatbrodo, and then I'm Erica Rankin on LinkedIn.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
Listen, thank you very much for doing this with
Yeah.
us. I really appreciate you responding and coming on.
Yeah.
You're a treat to have on.
Yeah, thank you so much. This
Yeah.
is awesome.
Back to the podcast.
Our pleasure.
Okay.
Cool. Thank you.
Okay,
Thanks, Erica.
Erica, you go
Have a great
enjoy your
day.
day. Phil, you hang on for a second. And we'll see you in Toronto.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it.
Oh.
It'll be here before you know it.
Yeah, trust me, I know. Jeez.
Yeah, we know.
Flying by.
Wow.
Okay, talk soon.
All right,
Enjoy your
take care.
day.
Bye.
Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
She's quite the talent, you know.
Cool.
Considering, she really had
Yeah.
probably no business being in CPG or retail.
Yeah.
Fucking, and to be in the set she's in, like refrigeration is just fucking
Yeah.
brutal.
I'm slightly
She's still
embarrassed.
doing
We fanned out a little on her.
It's hard not to though. Like she's
Yeah.
she's such a cool young woman. She's
I know.
look at the shit she's doing.
I know.
Like, I mean, seriously, like she's just,
slightly
I don't know,
embarrassing.
whatever.
Slightly embarrassing.
Nah,
I said
it's-
slightly. I didn't
Nah,
say.
it's kind
I
of more
didn't- I didn't
dad-like.
say
I mean, it's like your
hugely.
kids, right? If you
I
look at
just-
the age of her, they're the same age as the kids in a lot of ways.
I
You're
know,
kind of
I
looking,
know,
thinking,
I know.
"Wow,
But
It's awesome.
I'm a fan. I like it. I think,
I don't
I
care.
think what she's doing is awesome.
me too." I don't care if I found out.
Yeah.
Whatever.
I know a little. I think.
I did. I knew I did. I knew I would anyway. I just
but
like her. I think
I was
cool.
trying to make sure that we didn't fan out and lose questions that we needed to ask her.
I know.
think that was
because
the
it's
part that
hard.
really, Anyway,
I think we'll get her back on
thank
a
you.
podcast, then
Thank you for
we'll do
listening.
less fanning out.
yeah. Thank you for listening.
Thanks, everybody.